We don't seem to have any trouble reaching out for help if we have a broken leg, or if we have diabetes, or if we have cancer. But the minute we start talking about reaching out because we're not feeling right, we can't manage our feelings, we may be feeling a deep despair, we may be feeling suicidal. When we have that bundle of feelings, it's harder for many people. And the reason it's harder is because of that, it's a combination of how we have been taught, but also it's a combination of stigma, shame, and fear perhaps of discrimination.
And it's hard to ask people to be brave when they're struggling already with not feeling so good and feeling marginalized because they have depression or anxiety, but tell people you have it. Tell people this is what worked for me. Tell people what doesn't work for you. Tell people when you need a break, when you need some help. It makes it easier than for the next person. And if you're not somebody who struggles with it, ask. Ask what they're going through. Don't be that person who says, you have anxiety, why would you worry about stuff? Just don't worry. Instead say, well, how's that feel? Like, what is it that triggers you? What is it what makes you feel better? How can I help?
St. Albert's a very giving community, and as a result of that, I anticipate there to be all kinds of support for mental health of all sorts, children's mental health, adult mental health. We're all touched by it in some fashion, so we always look forward to the community gatherings that we have. We look forward to making sure that the support that is gathered and gained through events like this all ultimately turn into support for people.
The SAIF Society has been around since 1989. We were founded by a group of citizens concerned with the amount of domestic violence that was happening in the community. We are not a shelter program, we are a counseling program, clinical counseling for victims and offenders, anyone, women, children, men, seniors that are dealing with domestic violence. In St. Albert, we find domestic violence definitely exists, but we're really good at hiding our social issues here in St. Albert. We do 70 hours per week of counseling for domestic violence, and we're full for 70 hours a week with our programming for domestic violence. Psychological difficulties that we see in the clients that we work with regarding domestic violence, post-traumatic stress disorder is very common. They've been through something, there might be an incident that was extremely tragic. There might have been weapons involved or the police involved, or there could have been a serious incident where the children were put at risk. So we have clients coming in with post-traumatic stress disorder dealing with one incident that might have happened, or we have clients that are dealing with years of physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, and we're working with those clients that have some past trauma that they need to work through with our therapists. We also have clients that come in with depression from dealing with years and years of abuse. They also have general health issues, anxiety, stomach problems, headaches, migraines because of the anxiety or the stresses that they've been living with regarding domestic violence. We also have people that have a mental illness that might be contributing to domestic violence that causes anger outbursts, bipolar personality disorder, borderline personality disorders. So we might have victims or offenders that have a mental illness that might require some counseling help from us.
I really think connecting and what we see for the youth is when they share their stories with each other, then they don't feel so alone. So if someone is feeling depressed or anxious, or if somebody is feeling alone and that there's no one to talk to and nobody who feels the same way, they know when they come to Out Loud that there's a whole bunch of people feeling exactly the same way.
Out Loud, we started it in about two and a half years ago, in the spring of 2014. And just as an LGBTQ youth group here in St. Albert, because there's some great resources in Edmonton, but we wanted something that was more part of our community and a place where St. Albert and area kids could come and find other people who are more like them.
So BAM stands for Building Assets and Memories. So we're a youth-to-youth group inside St. Albert. We work along with the city And our goal is to connect youth to youth, youth to themselves, and youth to the community.
BAM has created an environment for youth in the community to have a place to go when they need help or when they're facing mental health issues or having, there's dangerous activities going on. People are using it as a support group, and everyone is so accepting no matter what school you go to, no matter where you are in your life, no matter what grade you're in, everybody is included, and that's a huge goal of BAM, is to break down those social boundaries and walls and to make everyone feel included.
I think community organizations are essential. I think, obviously the provincial and federal government can establish large systems within which, the smaller organizations operate, but it's the ones on the ground in the community, that know the people, that know the unique challenges in each community that make life livable, really, in many cases. And I think without these community-based organizations, so many people would fall through the cracks.
I think people are so offended by mental illness, let alone by death, that it's hard to talk about. And I think if we make it more okay, we will decrease the instance of suicide, but we have to be okay if people do die of it, if they do die of their mental illness. It can't be something that is swept under the rug or that people are embarrassed about. And I know when Kaylin died, and I'm sorry if I get teary, but I mean, when he was sick, we always talk about it, and he'd say, "Mom, what will I tell people that I've been in hospital?" And I said, hon, I think we should walk our talk. Like, we're big, advocates of mental illness. You have to be able to walk your talk. So it's up to you what you tell people. I mean, he was 17 at the time, but 18. I said, I'm going to talk about it. I'm not ashamed of you. You've got mental illness. It's okay. And when he died, I came home and I said to the family, I'm not going to lie about this, because so many people do that. I mean, in the past, how many people did we know die of suicide? There was always another reason, right? Always shushed up. But he died of suicide. He died of his depression. His heart couldn't do it anymore.
We perhaps avoid it or don't understand it until it touches us. And so St. Albert has a history of when we're touched, we rise up. And this is just another example where we're all touched in some fashion, so we're all going to rise up in some fashion.
When you have somebody creating a solution to a problem, a specific problem they've encountered, the chances are that there are hundreds more like them that have had just that experience. And so you have the right exact response to that problem. And I think that's what these community organizations are.
When you know there's a need and you choose to look away, we try to set that example for our kids about giving to others. So we knew we had to do something. Mia needed something, and we knew if Mia needed something, others needed something.
I saw statistics a couple of years ago that said for every $1 spent in prevention, you're saving $28 in intervention around domestic violence. So $1 to make a difference in $28, that could be spent in mental health program, it could be spent in the healthcare system, might be spent in the justice system or hospitals and healthcare. So if we can get the word out there to people and what healthy relationships look like, what domestic violence works like, how to recognize, respond, and refer regarding domestic violence in your community, we could save millions of dollars through various systems in our communities just by some easy prevention and education in the community.
I think a lot of people ask us, where's this going or what's going to happen? And to be honest, I hope one day that there isn't a need for an LGBTQ group. I just hope there's such acceptance around the LGBTQ community, mental health, all of those kinds of things, that these groups aren't needed because everyone understands.
To the people that are attending the event this evening, the 3 charities you're working with do amazing and incredible work, and we couldn't do it without the support of the community. And our clients may never know who you are, they may never know your names, but they'll never forget the kindness that you offered by being so generous here tonight.